This lecture is about why we should not worship Ambedkar, why we should only respect Ambedkar. In my last lecture, I talked about how to celebrate Ambedkar birth anniversary, Ambedkar Jayanti, in Dalit Indian culture. That lecture is an answer. That lecture explains how we respect Ambedkar by celebrating Ambedkar Jayanti in Dalit Indian culture. In Dalit Indian culture, Ambedkar Jayanti is celebrated entirely different. There is no place for worshipping Ambedkar in Dalit Indian culture, because worshipping Ambedkar is our in Indian culture. If we keep worshipping the great man will become means of counter revolution in the hands of enemies. Look at the Buddha. Once he became Bhagavan, the symbol of Buddha was used by enemies to destroy Buddhism. If you keep on worshipping Ambedkar, one day Ambedkar will be declared as Bhagavan and he will become an instrument of counter revolution in the hands of the enemies, and Ambedkar and Ambedkar thought will be destroyed. The way how Buddhism disappeared from India because Buddha became Bhagavan and the enemy destroyed total Buddhism by making Buddha into Bhagavan. The same way the enemy will make Ambedkar into Bhagavan and destroy the Ambedkar thought, Ambedkar spirit. Look at the great men in different countries. No great man is worshipped all over the world. Nowhere great men are worshipped. Once Ambedkar said that the biggest enemy of Indian people is the culture of worshipping great men, hero worship. Hero worship is the biggest enemy and biggest threat for democracy, because hero worship makes people mental slaves, cultural slaves. Hero worship never encourages the people to think liberally, to think independently. Ambedkar felt that all over the world hero worship is dead, but not in India. In India, some vested interests are perpetuating the culture of hero worship. Today, the most dangerous part is that even Ambedkar is being dragged into this culture of hero worship by enemies as well as some misguided Ambedkarites. Abraham Lincoln in America, he gave his life for the rights of black Americans. The white supremacists killed, assassinated Abraham Lincoln because Abraham Lincoln was working for the black civil rights. Even then, no black American worship Abraham Lincoln. There are many Abraham Lincoln statues in America. Nobody worship Abraham Lincoln. They respect Abraham Lincoln by remembering him by his thoughts and his deeds. Martin Luther King Jr., he is the father of black American civil rights movement. Without him, there would be no black American history. Even then, black Americans don't worship him. Black Americans don't worship his statues. But black Americans remember him by his thoughts, by his deeds. The most important example is South African Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela not just given the constitution to the blacks of South Africa. Nelson Mandela gave the whole South Africa to blacks. Today whites are the not rulers of South Africa. Today blacks are the rulers of South Africa. It is totally because of Nelson Mandela's contribution. Without Nelson Mandela, today blacks can't be the rulers of South Africa. The whole country, South Africa, Nelson Mandela put in the hands of the black rule. Even then, blacks of South Africa don't worship Nelson Mandela. Then why? Why Dalits worship Ambedkar? Dalits should not worship Ambedkar. A real, true Ambedkarite should not worship Ambedkar. A pure Dalit, true Dalit should not worship Ambedkar. Pure Dalit should respect Ambedkar. True Ambedkarite should respect Ambedkar by his thoughts, by his deeds. How to respect Ambedkar? I already explained in my lecture, in my last lecture, that is titled as How to Celebrate Ambedkar Birth Anniversary. In that lecture, I explained that how to respect Ambedkar by not worshipping him. If we allow the worshipping culture, hero worship of Ambedkar, certainly it's going to ruin Dalit community, Dalit movement, Dalit pride. Again we'll become slaves. Look at what happened to Buddhism. What happened to the Buddhists? Until Ambedkar embraced Buddhism, what was the status of Buddhism? What was the status of Buddhists? Totally disappeared from India. Why? Because Buddha was worshipped. Enemy knows very well to kill opponents. Our enemy make our leaders into Bhagavan and start worshipping means we are killing our Dalit spirit. Look at the Birsa Munda. Birsa Munda was not known much to anyone except in history textbooks. It was the great Dalit leader Kanshiram who brought Birsa Munda out of the history textbooks and placed before the masses. He taught about what Birsa Munda stands for. When all Dalits and Bahojans, Adivasis embraced Birsa Munda, suddenly enemy got frightened about this Birsa Munda's thoughts and deeds. Then to destroy Birsa Munda, simply he called Birsa Munda, he made Birsa Munda Bhagavan Birsa Munda. Today Birsa Munda is worshipped. It means Birsa Munda is finished. It should not happen the same with Ambedkar. Taking the example of what happened to Gautam Buddha, taking the example of what happened to the Birsa Munda, Ambedkar should be very careful. If we practice worshipping Ambedkar instead of respecting Ambedkar, then we are falling into the trap of our enemy. Remember, worshipping is not a Dalit Indian culture. Respecting is Dalit Indian culture. Respecting the great man is Dalit Indian culture. Worshipping the great man is not Dalit Indian culture. Worshipping per se is not questioned, but worshipping the great man is questioned. Worshipping great man is not Dalit Indian culture. It's not at all pure Dalit Indian culture. The pure Dalit Indian culture means not to worship the great man, but remember the great man. How to remember the great man? By reading their books, by celebrating their birthdays, the way 4 steps I have suggested in that lecture, how to celebrate Ambedkar's birthday in Dalit cultural way. I have given step by step, all the 4 5 steps I have given there. You may watch that lecture in different video, and you can understand that how to celebrate the birthdays of the great men. Knowledge is powerful. Ambedkar knowledge, Dalit knowledge is make us super powerful. So instead of understanding Ambedkar knowledge, if you start the worshipping of Ambedkar statues, idols, we will be falling into the trap of enemy, and they use the Ambedkar to make us once again slaves. At least educated Dalit middle class should not involve in the ritual of worshipping Ambedkar. Illiterate masses, if they are worshipping, that we can understand. But educated middle class Dalits should not involve in this anti Dalit Indian cultural tradition. Worshipping is anti Dalit Indian cultural tradition. Worshipping great man is anti Dalit Indian cultural tradition. That should not be a practice for at least educated Dalit Indians. When whole world don't worship great man, blacks don't worship their great man, Jews they don't worship their great man. Washington of America, who founded America, but Americans don't worship him, they respect him. Dalit Indian culture is universal culture. Hence we find Dalit Indian culture everywhere. Only Aryan Indian culture is opposite of Dalit Indian culture. Otherwise you find Dalit Indian culture in different forms everywhere. In Dalit Indian culture, great men are respected but not worshipped. Same is the case universally, because Dalit Indian culture is universal culture. Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat. Thank you very much.